Okay, actually, I've just looked her up because I couldn't wait to see who she was. She has famously donated all net ticket proceeds from her October concert to a non-profit. Oh, there you go. So, I get chills. Without me even knowing anything about her. That's the power of etymology. You can basically get a sense of what people are about just by understanding the etymology of their name without even knowing anything about them. There is a hidden mystery in your name, in every name, and you will find it in the etymology. Etymology is the study of the origins of language. It's the origins of where words come from and what their true meaning is. So we can actually gain a lot from understanding the etymology of words, and I use a lot of etymology in this work, but today we're doing something a little bit different. We are going to be looking at the etymology of the names of some of the most controversial and significant figures in our reality today, but then also I'm going to throw in some light-hearted ones as well, just so we can keep it light. When we look at the etymology of the names of our characters that are showing up in reality, you will get a sense of the role that they are here to play, because it is absolutely incredible how a character showing up in reality will show up according to the story hidden in the etymology of their names. It is fascinating. In my years as a law of assumption coach, I will often use etymology to understand the certain role that a character is playing in my client's reality. So it could be a boss, it could be a partner, it could be a friend, it could be a parent, sister, sibling, whatever. I will ask for the name of that person, and then I will look at the etymology of that person. And I am never not blown away by what the etymology of their name reveals. 100% of the time, it's revealing the role that that character is playing in that person's reality. And when you understand the role they're playing, you can understand how to work with that character, especially if it's a difficult character. It can actually take you out of that personal kind of judgy perspective that we can get into when dealing with certain characters, and you can start to see, hang on a second, this person actually has a higher purpose and they are playing a role which is hidden in the etymology of their name in order to help me further awaken into more of my infinite I amness. So in this video, I'm just going to be working with the first and last name. Obviously, people have middle names as well. I myself have a middle name. But the purpose of the first name is generally your self-expression. That's how you're showing up in the world. So that's going to help you identify whether you are living according to your true expression that you came here in this physical body to express, or you're not. And your name will help you move into accordance with your true expressions. Now, the surname is the kind of like the spiritual assignment or the challenge that you may be faced with or the thing that you have to overcome. That will be found in your surname. The surname is linked to your ancestral assignment. So that's the consciousness that's been passed down through the lineage, through the generations, for you to work on or work with or overcome. Again, like the first name, you are either overcoming that successfully or you are still bound to that assignment or bound to that challenge, and you are kind of like a victim to the challenge. The middle name is kind of like your secret weapon. Now, you may have a couple of middle names, but that's your secret strength or skill, or that's your secret gift that you've brought in with you to help you with that challenge. So when you change names, that is a significant act, because essentially you are saying that I am choosing this path and this potential instead of this. And when women take on their husband's surname, what they're actually doing is they're taking on the ancestral lineage of their husband, energetically, of course, and none of this is conscious unless you know this work. But that's what we do when we take on names. We take on the etymology of those names. We take on the frequency of those names. Now, I am is the infinite name. That's the name that comes before every single name. That is the one true name, I am. Every single name, first, middle, and last, comes after I am. And once you are aware of the etymology of your name, you can come back into the infinite I am and you can claim I am over your name. So you're not bound to your name, but you are if you're unaware of the purpose of your name. So if you're just living unconsciously, then you're going to be driven according to the frequency of your name. But if you're living in I am, then you are the one in command of your experience. You're not bound to your name. You're not bound to the challenges. You can basically overcome your name by coming back into the one true name, which is I am. That's how you overcome your name. But until you remember who you are, which is the infinite I am, contained within this body, which has been given this name, you will be subject to the frequency or the story of that name, which is hidden in the etymology. And that's why understanding what the etymology of your name is really, really important. So I'm going to go through a couple of examples to show you just how phenomenal this is. I'm going to start with some light ones, and then we're going to move into some more significant names that are relevant today. So I'll start with my name, Hedley Dorenzi. I do have a middle name, but I will keep that to myself as my secret weapon. Hedley is an Old English boy's name, and my mum actually thought she made it up, but she just sort of heard or saw a name that was similar to it. I think she saw Hetty, and then she came up with Hedley, and she loved it, like just loved it. It felt so right. And my mum and dad weren't really agreeing on much at that time, but they agreed on that name. So it was definitely going to be Hedley that was going to be my name. I was Hedley before I was even here. The name Hedley is Old English. It's an Old English boy's name, which means heathered meadow or clearing. And that's what I always believed it meant up until a couple of years ago when I was well and truly into this channel. And one of my subscribers wrote on my comment, they said, I looked up the etymology of your name, and of course it's Hebrew for God's voice. And I was like, no, it's not. It's an Old English name for heathered meadow. I looked it up, and Hedley as a girl's name is Hebrew, which is pronounced Hedja, and that means God's voice. So I had never known that. I always thought it was just a boy's name. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the voice of God by any stretch. That's not the game we're playing here. What it does mean is that's my expression. That's what I'm here to do, and that's what I'm here to express. And here I am teaching the work of I am, and teaching and talking about I am. That's my name. That's the etymology of my name. And that is actually how I am showing up and expressing myself in this form. Now, Dorenzi is my surname, and that comes from Dorenzi. It's actually Italian. It comes from De Renzi, and Renzi comes from Lorenzo. The etymology of Lorenzo is laurel and laureate. So laurel and laureate means crown or wreath. So this is my surname, which means this is my assignment. We're also looking at metaphor and symbolism here within the etymology. So my assignment here is to come into the laurel frequency, or the frequency of the crown or the wreath, meaning to value what I have to say, value my work, value who I am, and to step into that frequency of being seen and being heard and being recognized. Now, that absolutely is my assignment, because that is my challenge. I have a very mixed and conflicting relationship with this. I love being here on YouTube. I love teaching I am. It's my passion, but I also have zero interest in doing anything for the sake of followers. I have no interest in YouTube fame. I have no interest in having hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I can't be bothered. That's just, I would rather sit under a tree, hang out with Dora, stare at the sky, just contemplate the nature of things. And yet, I also have a very deep desire to be known for my work and my contribution. So, for example, with the I am technique, I spent years developing that technique. Once you get it, it's a super simple technique. But I also have this desire for people to know that that's mine and I created it, and that's my offering. That's my contribution to this work. So understanding the etymology of my name helped me understand that, yes, I am living according to my truth, which is in my first name. And I can see where my challenge is. I can see where I am still hiding. I can see where I'm still standing back. I can see the issues that I still have to deal with and still have to face, which is evidence in my surname. So now let's take a look at some of the popular names that you will know of. We'll start light, and then I want to take it a little bit deeper. We'll start with Harry Styles. So let's have a look at the etymology of Harry Styles. First name Harry, the origin is Middle English and Germanic. It is a medieval diminutive of Henry, which comes from the old High German Heimrich. Heim meaning home or estate, and Rick meaning ruler or power. So the literal meaning is home ruler. Surname Styles, the origin is Old English and the etymology is derived from the word steigle. The literal meaning is at the stile. Now, a stile is a set of steps or a narrow gate used to climb up or over a fence or wall, and so it literally means to ascend. So the name essentially translates to the ruler of the home or the home ruler of the ascent or of the boundary or of the stepping point. So his full expression is as the ruler of the home, the ruler of the estate, the one in power, and his challenge is the ascent, the one who is kind of getting comfortable with moving up and being at the top. I don't know what that means for him, but that will be his spiritual assignment, and certainly he has risen to the top of his field. But whether or not he's comfortable with that or he has challenges with that, again, we can't know that, but that will be work that he has to do here within himself. So he appears to be living up to the etymology of his name. Now, the next one we will do is Olivia Rodriguez, and I don't know if this is a bad thing to admit, but I have absolutely no idea who Olivia Rodriguez is. I believe she's a singer, but I also feel like she's an actress as well, so I don't know. And I deliberately didn't look her up so that I could try and see if I could figure out who she is based on the etymology of her name. First name Olivia, the origin is Latin, Olivia. The etymology is derived from oliva, the Latin word for the olive trees. The literal meaning is olive or of the olive trees, which symbolizes peace. So the olive branch has been a universal symbol for peace, and to extend an olive branch is to offer peace. Therefore, Olivia is often interpreted as the bringer of peace or peaceful. The surname Rodrigo, the origin is Germanic, Spanish, and Portuguese, and the etymology is a Latinized form of the old High German name Roderick. Rod means fame or glory, and Rick means ruler and power. So the name essentially translates to the famous ruler of peace, and it balances the gentle, stabilizing symbolism of the olive branch with the high energy, historic authority of a renowned leader. So based on the etymology of her name, she is the bringer of peace, so that's her first name, and she is a famous ruler, so that is her spiritual assignment in her surname. She's certainly famous, obviously you wouldn't have suggested her otherwise, but if she is the bringer of peace and she's a famous ruler, she is somebody who is here using her fame for good. So if she is a singer, I would say that's her expression, but she's also using her fame to support charities or support certain causes that she's passionate about. Keep in mind, I don't know anything about her. I do not know what she's doing. I think she's a singer. I'm pretty sure she's a singer. But my guess is that she is using her fame for greater good. So she is like an ambassador of causes or charities, and she is helping people in some way. So if you know who she is and what she's up to, let me know if I'm correct or if I'm off mark with that. But that's the power of etymology. You can basically get a sense of what people are about just by understanding the etymology of their name without even knowing anything about them. Okay, actually, I've just looked her up because I couldn't wait to see who she was. So yes, Olivia Rodrigo is actively involved in supporting various charities, and she launched Fund for Good in 2004 alongside her world tour, and she's raised a number of donations, and she has famously donated all net ticket proceeds from her October concert to a non-profit. Oh, there you go. So, I get chills. Without me even knowing anything about her. That's the power of etymology. Again, amazing. So now I want to take it to another level, and we're going to look at the etymology of the names of some of the significant figures who are showing up in the collective field at this time. So yes, we are going to look at the etymology of the character Donald Trump. First name Donald, the origin is Scottish Gaelic Domhall, and it's derived from Proto-Celtic roots, meaning world and rule. So the literal meaning is world ruler or ruler of the world. And the Trump surname, the etymology, it comes from the German name Drump, meaning to play the drum or trumpet, which is where the phrase to blow your own horn comes from. And as a verb, it means to deceive, cheat, or mock. That is literally what the etymology of the name Donald Trump is. So as Donald Trump, he is the ruler of the world, but he is doing it through deception and mockery and lies and dishonesty. So he is absolutely living according to the etymology of his name. But remember, we are only subjects to our name and the stories hidden in our name as long as we are unaware of the infinite name, which is I am. And you can be in command of a name when you put I am in front of it. That is what gives you command. The one who is aware of the infinite name is the one who can put I am in front of the name and then claim command of the name. If you know, you know. I'll leave it there and we'll move on. So now I want to take you through the etymology of 3 significant names. Now there are many more significant names, but just for the sake of time, these are the 3 that I want to go through today, and that is Renee Good, Alex Pretty, and George Floyd. So let's have a look at the etymology of these names and the amazing people who held them while they were here. First name, Renee. The origin is French. The etymology is derived from the Latin name Renatus, literally means reborn. And the historical context is that this name carried deep religious significance, referring to the spiritual rebirth. The surname Good, the origin is English and Middle English, and the etymology is derived from the Old English word God, spelt G-O-D, and the literal meaning is good, virtuous, or kind. Now, this is a nickname-based surname that was originally given to a person of particularly high character, a good person, someone known for their kindness and upright behavior. So the name Renee Good means rebirth and reborn, goodness and purity, and a person of high character. We know these people through their passing. But in their passing, we actually learn about these people from their family and friends. And what we hear is that these people actually living up to the etymology of their name. These people are good people. But what's also really important in the etymology of the names of these people who died in such horrific circumstances is that they are giving us an opportunity to follow the etymology of their name. Meaning, we can either see their passing as an opportunity to fall into darkness and the terror and the awfulness of what's happened, or we can use it as an opportunity to be reborn into the goodness, to focus on the kindness of people, to focus on what is good and what is virtuous. So their names are actually an offering being offered to us. We can allow ourselves to fall into the darkness of the awfulness that is happening, that we're seeing, or we can choose to be reborn into the awareness of what is good, what is right, what is kind, what is virtuous. It's all about awareness. And that invitation is in the name Renee Good. Let's have a look at another beautiful name in the name Alex Pretty. First name Alex, the origin is Greek, Alexandros, and the etymology is a compound of alexein, which means to defend, and aner, which means man. So the literal meaning is defender of men. And this name has historically represented a guardian or protector, and it's one of the most enduring names in Western civilization, popularized by Alexander the Great. The surname Preti, the origin is Italian. The etymology is the masculine plural form of the Italian adjective preto, which is derived from the Latin purus. The literal meaning is the pure ones, or the genuine, unadulterated ones. Symbolically, Preti describes a quality of character, and in Italian, preto refers to something that is pure, honest, and not mixed with inferior elements. As a family name, it suggests a lineage known for being authentic or sincere. Alex, meaning defender of men, Now, again, we know Alex Pretty through his passing, but in the stories from his family and friends, we are seeing a man, an ICU nurse, who stood up and honored the lives of veterans over and over and over again. This was a man who lived up to the full expression of his first name and his last name Pretty, meaning the pure ones, the genuine ones, the unadulterated ones. And that is what he lived up to in that moment. He stood up to help one who was in trouble in that moment, and he paid the ultimate price. But again, there is an invitation in the etymology of his name. The name Alex Pretty is not just the name of the man who held it, but it is the invitation that is available to all of us that was made at the moment of his passing when we all became aware of his name. And that is the power of etymology. And this is a man who absolutely lived up to his etymology in the most amazing and courageous and powerful way. Now, the last name I want to do today is George Floyd. First name George. The origins is Greek, Georgios, and the etymology is a compound of ge, meaning earth or ground, and ergon, meaning work. So the literal meaning of George is earth worker or farmer. And the context is that it was a name synonymous with the dragon slayer Saint George, and it represents the humble. Floyd, the surname, the origin is Welsh, and the etymology is an English phonetic spelling of the Welsh name Lloyd. The literal meaning is grey, which means the mixing of white and black. The name Floyd carried a deeper connotation of being venerable, wise, or distinguished, and it was an epithet given to elders or leaders who had earned the respect of their community through age and experience. So, according to the etymology of his name, his expression was earth worker or farmer, kind of one of the many, just living an ordinary life. However, his surname, his last name, which was his challenge to overcome or his spiritual assignment, literally means grey. So that's the coming together of white and black, making the colour grey. Now, his death, his awful, terrible death, brought out the racism that is so evident and still evident in today's world. But what that did was that brought people together, obviously with the Black Lives Matter movement, which stemmed from his death. So while he lived a very humble life, it was his passing where he stepped into that spiritual assignment of bringing white and black together. And so that is the etymology of the name George Floyd. An amazing name for an amazing person. It shows that there is so much more going on beneath the surface, and so much of that can be found in the etymology of not just words, but also the names that we hold in this lifetime, the names that we give our children. These hold very specific frequencies. So I would encourage each and every one of you to really look into the etymology of your name and understand what you're doing here and why you've come here in this specific embodiment, and what is your natural expression, and are you living according to that? And also, what's your assignment? What are you here to overcome or address or look at or become aware of? You will find that in your surname, and if you have middle names, that will be your little key that will help you along the way. And then, of course, remember, we are not subject to the stories in our name. We are not subject to our names. Our names are here to help us in our awakening and return back to the infinite and one true name, which is all of our names, which is I am. And once you remember I am comes before your name, you are the one that is in command of your story, and you are also in command of the story of how your characters are showing up based on what you learn about the etymology in their names. It's fascinating, and it never ceases to blow my mind, the power of etymology. So I encourage each of you to have a look at that over this next week, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.